Oh, does it feel good to be back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Walking Dead support group. I'm Alex Mann. To my right, I have Keith O'Brien. To my left, Jason McCarthy. This was a long overdue wait. We have so much to catch up on and a short time to do it, so we're going to try and fly through this first episode as fast as we can, get as much in as possible. As we go forward, we'll take some more time to do stuff with the Facebook and the Twitter and everything else, but let's jump right into this. Keith, as always, our favorite part of the show, the kill count.
That was a long commercial. But we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
We're back. Evening, everybody. Tonight we have a kill count of 45. We got the fence cleaners going on,
Right.
and every time somebody goes through the fence, that's a death. And we had a lot of off-camera distance shots of, headshots with firearms, and we got the fence cleaners from background shots. So we're going to go with 45.
45. Now, does that kill count include the It's Raining Men sequence?
That did count a lot of the It's Raining men, or as I went with Zombie D-Day.
Very Zombie D-Day. Very good. So really quick, for those of you who don't know what Comic-Con is, there is conventions that travel all over the country. We were fortunate enough to go and spend a day in Boston at the last Comic-Con. Jason, why don't you give everybody a quick update of what Comic-Con was like for the Walking Dead support group walking in that door?
It was crazy to start off. It was crazy. It was something that I had never been to myself, but we went. We were there, stood in line for a good half hour at least, and there was just a ton to see, a ton to do. There's a lot of Walking Dead fans there. We actually ran into two walkers, and of course Laurie Holden was present, and our buddy Alex here got an autograph.
Yes, I did. I'll bring it to the next episode. She did. She was cool. Couldn't get any pictures with her, which kind of broke my heart. But unfortunately, there was a post shortly thereafter. I believe her brother passed away that night of some overdue illness. So you know what? Obviously, she was having a bad day. But she was fantastic when I got a chance to meet her. And also, we have some friends of our show who we're going to do a call-in on a little bit, who are at the Stalker Con down in Georgia for the opening night of the Walking Dead. So we're going to call them in about 5 minutes or so and get them on the air and see how that goes. The goal for next week is we'll show you some of the pictures that they're actually taking, and basically it's on set down there, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Which is the bizarre thing of our little show here in a small town spreads out, thank goodness, due to the internet. So fortunately, if you're outside of our community, you'll be able to see this on a rebroadcast on YouTube later on. All right, so let's get into tonight's episode right away. 30 Days Without Incident. We all kind of went into this one thinking we were going to see a good purging of all the people that they brought in from Woodbury. And it really wasn't. We had, one of the team die, right? Beth's boyfriend?
Just one,
Beth's new boyfriend,
or former
red
whatever.
shirt
I'm going to go with
red shirt number one.
I'm going to go with red shirt number 1. I think I'm going to just keep.
That's for Sandra.
We should keep track of that. It's red shirt number 1, red shirt number 2, because we had 2 red shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we thought the medic was going to go, and he didn't.
Well, I thought the medic was going to go because every time I've seen him in a show or a movie, he dies. So, I mean, granted, with The Walking Dead, you expect everyone to go at some point. But I really did expect him to go. But it wasn't until the end that we got the concept that it was Beth who was keeping track of that. And if you've never worked in any kind of industrial setting, there's always these OSHA requirements, and they always put up how many days without an incident. And 30 days, I think, during this apocalypse is pretty good. But Jason, let me ask you this. We were all surprised. Now, all right, so let's say it's been 30 days. Is 30 days enough for you to start wearing a Walkman with the fence line full of walkers and doing crops?
Me personally, no. But then, Rick is kind of out there. And maybe he feels some sense of false security. But they did a good job of putting that place back together and securing it. Maybe, how long has it really been? It's been...
Well, I think they're giving us a definite time frame of 30 days. That, or at least 30 days since that incident. So
right.
maybe it was 6 months and they had problems.
Yeah.
And then in the last 30 days it was.
We're looking at it like you know, we look at it as your standard production hiatus, I think. And I think a lot of people looked at it like that, 30 days without an incident. So it's like, oh, we're going to jump a month. But in reality, we just have 30 days without an incident.
Right.
We don't know
we
the
went
time
a whole
frame.
winter.
You know,
without
we went a
seeing.
whole winter, and we don't know how long it's been that, as you say, Rick's gotten a little complacent, and he's walking around with an earbud in doing,
Yeah, that was
you know,
nuts.
farmer chores.
Well, I think historically it's been, any lapsed time between seasons has been
Yeah, they got to try
almost
and-
real time.
Yeah, you got to jump up. I mean, especially when you have characters as young as Chandler Riggs
Yeah.
and Beth, even Beth. You know,
Yeah.
you've got these people that obviously could have a growth spurt, and you're like, how do you explain that in TV time?
I noticed Carl didn't have his hair cut. I don't know if you noticed that.
Well, that was a funny moment where Michonne's out, and you know, there's almost kind of this romantic chemistry. That was by the way, that was the biggest complaint that we kept seeing was, oh, good, it's the romance version of The Walking Dead tonight.
Right.
But you know what? Eventually, those are things that are all going to happen. Like you said, we've probably gone several months where people have had this time to develop a relationship. Tyrese has an interest in the woman that was on the fence line with him. Michonne, obviously, I think she's got a thing for Rick. Whether it's just a strong friendship or whatever. Everybody wants to see Carol and
yeah.
Daryl kind of hook up, and Pookie.
Pookie. But that could be the whole thing. It's like, is it the fact that they can't go 30 days without an incident? You know, you got Rick trying to, you know, they think they got the fence supported and they're safe. He's growing crops because they're trying to bring things back to normalcy. They're hunting, they got snare traps out, and they're obviously making runs. I mean, everybody was, you know, maybe they just can't make it 30 days. Maybe that's the benchmark, you know? And that's why we see Beth taking, you know, she gets out of bed and out of the bed there and says, is he dead? You know, and she doesn't shed a tear, and she says, I'm not going to cry anymore. She gets up, she takes the 3 off, and now we're back to 0.
Right.
Maybe the fact of the matter is we can't get 30 days without an incident. Because they're all, in the beginning, we have, you know, we have two sides of the group. We got Rick just farming away thinking he's safe, and he obviously doesn't care anymore because he's not carrying his weapon.
Well, Herschel had to
and
come out
then
and say,
he gotta
"We want you to
we want you to
carry
carry your
the gun."
weapon.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we've got Glenn and Maggie. You know, he's staring up at the ceiling. Oh, I got to go out on the run. You know, and everybody else is like, I want to go out on the run. People say, well, we got to go. And they're like concerned about the run because they can't make it past 30 days.
Right.
It's like the over/under.
Well, that was one of the other things that came out with that was, and they really didn't give us too much in this episode, so I'm sure it's going to come, is the council. There's obviously a council taking votes and running the administrative end of this. So it's certainly interesting. So while we're doing that, let me see if I can get our two friends down at StalkerCon down in Georgia.
Our two favorite fans.
We got Darylicious, aka Carol, and we also have Furry Feroz on Twitter, who is Beth, and we're going to try and FaceTime them in. And so bear with us as we go forward with this. What we're going to try and do is see if we can incorporate them into the show a little bit. So what do you think of, is there going to be... Hello! All right, if you could zoom in on this as best as possible. What we have here is alternate maybe this. No, that's not going to work.
work.
Say hi to Carol. Oh, that's a great. There we go. There we go. I can see him. Say hi, girls. All right. This over here is Carol. Over there is Beth. There we go. Ladies, what was your favorite part of the show tonight?
Oh, what was my favorite part? Oh, I like the Pookie.
The Pookie. And what about you, Beth?
I liked when Tyrese came back in and told, is it Maria? Karen, that he didn't like going out there. I thought that was, you know, to have that big guy say, you know, I don't like going out there either. I like that.
He doesn't want to seem to do too much. So, girls, let me ask you this. How is your convention going on down there? A lot of fans down there?
Oh, it's standing room only. It's awesome.
That's
a lot of people.
So,
Got a bunch of walkers walking around. Let me see. The guy that played Alan is here. One of Michelle's pets, the RV walker, Asthma Boy, and I think that's really it.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sounder, are you guys hearing them okay? Perfect. Okay, so let me ask you this. What do you think of Rick finding that strange, kind of crazy-looking woman who looked like she was dead? What do you think of that?
I thought it was. I thought she had like a baby wrapped up over there or something. I didn't think it was her husband. I thought it was a baby. That was really weird. I don't quite understand that whole concept of what was going on there.
It was his
I
head.
think that part was a good waste, a bad waste of good film.
I like that.
Hey, Keith.
Oh,
Keith,
yes.
What's the kill count? What's the official kill count?
I had 45.
Wow.
Woo!
I had 45. See, it's right here,
Is
45.
Jason still hot? Everybody here wants to know if Jason is still hot.
Well, hold on. I'll aim it at Jason. What do you think? Is he still hot? Jason is a lovely shade of red.
Do you have time to see Darylicious Carol dressed up as your favorite former cast person on The Walking Dead?
She's dressed up as Andrea?
Let's go.
Yes, I would love to
Is
see
she?
that.
She is, and I was just telling her she wore the proper boots for Andrea. You should see the other girls in here in these hoe boots, you know, like.
Yeah, okay. So let's take a quick look, and then we got to get back to the show. Aim it down a little. Yep, that's an Andrea look. I like it. Very good. All right, ladies. We got to let you go. We're going to get back to our show. But once again, thank you for being two of the biggest fans of the support group.
Can't wait to see it. Thanks for talking to us. This is me. Bye.
Bye, girls. Thank you. All right, now that is a first.
Yeah.
All right, that is absolutely a first for us. We've done a live call-in. As you can tell by their accents, they are Southern ladies, but they are generally not on the East Coast time, so they're always an hour behind us. Actually, I think Beth is in Texas, so she's probably 2 hours behind us. But they're at the StalkerCon down in Georgia for the live premiere party. So thanks to them for joining in. For those of you who follow us on Facebook, it's the Walking Dead Support Group. We're also on Twitter at WD Support Group. And we definitely interact with everybody there. This conversation goes on all week. So by now, I hope we haven't revealed too much if you haven't been watching the show. But if you have, well, sorry, spoiler.
Spoilers.
So, Keith, what was your favorite moment from tonight's show?
I'm going to go with 2.
Okay.
Okay, first was the other room when we were doing the screening, because when we had Rick and Carl talking, and they were talking about raising, he's naming the pigs. I went, bacon, and and then of course, just to steal from you, said, even in the zombie apocalypse, we find a way to get bacon.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, there ain't gonna be no turkey bacon, and there ain't gonna be no veggie bacon. It's gonna be bacon.
Right.
It's gonna be violet bacon. Or violent bacon.
I almost wanted the pig to be named Charlotte.
Charlotte,
Charlotte's
Charlotte,
whatever,
yeah. Then the other one was story time with Carol, because I think both, as Beth said in the FaceTime, which was pretty cool, it's a complete waste of film. My complete waste of film, which maybe should be a segment now, by the way. My complete waste of film is the scene with the kids, right? First we have the scene with the kids on the fence, and I'm like, that's dumb, and I got liberal ponytail girl, telling me that they're not dead, they're people.
Yeah. People too.
So I got, whatever her name is, welcome to Massachusetts. But we got scenes of
She must be the Cambridge
So
girl.
then my second scene with the kids, I'm like, I got to get up now, maybe, I'll go to the bathroom or something. I got story time with Carol, and she tells the story. She says, that's it, enough story time, and busts out the knives. How to protect yourself.
Right.
That's what I liked. That was my moment.
Jay?
Easily my favorite part was the zombie balloons. The zombie water balloons falling from the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
Blowing up
Balloons.
everywhere.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
99 Luft balloons over here.
That was almost David Letterman-esque, where he used to throw stuff off the roof.
Yeah.
That was
blow
good. In fact, that was also my favorite part, and I had said this in the room, and our executive producer, Chris Mann, who's on the equipment tonight,
Executive producer.
he jumped right in when I said it. I said, am I the only one thinking it's raining men? And then he said, I guarantee you by tomorrow, someone's going to do a loop of that and put it on the internet, which is probably absolutely true. So that was kind of my favorite moment. But my favorite part of that was when they would fall and the heads would just explode. It was, they went from and in fact, in all the zombie stuff, now we've seen zombie movies, all of us, and shows. Have we ever seen somebody taken out like that? Like, just, I don't think we've ever seen one just kind of explode like that.
Just
Not even
implode.
Resident Evil, I don't think I've ever seen
Just
them kind
the
of go
slow-
out that way.
Well, we have the stompings, and then
Death by Volkswagen.
Death by Volkswagen. You know, we had explosion,
Or
and then we
Subaru.
had the zombie in the well.
Yeah, but nothing like this. They just
The zombie in the well kind of like fell apart, and all his guts were.
They keep coming up with great ways to kind of
Graphic,
do
I
them
like
all,
that.
and I
Yeah.
like it. So next week's episode is called Infected, and we kind of got a good impression. We've heard from the spoilers and all the stuff because obviously we're going to read everything that goes on about this off season. We knew that there was going to be a new twist to the Walkers this season. The question was that the nerdish kind of kid, when he changed at the end, is that the twist, or because we've seen Walkers kind of bleeding through the eyes, that one that Rick kept focusing in on?
Yep.
So Keith, what are your predictions for the next week with the Infected and how it ended tonight?
I'm wondering if the people, the refugees, don't realize that they're all infected, and they have to tell them all.
Ooh, I hadn't thought of that.
That's-
Well, then the question is, how many of them are going to survive this one with it?
But
you know, the
but
cats on the
I
inside?
agree with you that they kept looking. We have Rick looking at the zombie with the blood in his eyes, and then at the end with the kid in the the bathroom shower seemed like he might have had blood from his eyes. So I don't know if that's it. But I'm wondering, because it's called Infected, if it's like they're gonna obviously this kid's gonna come out, and who knows what he does. If he hopefully gets liberal girl.
You know what?
But
that would be
my,
it.
But my,
I would absolutely.
but my question is, like I said, after the aftermath of whatever comes out of this, they have to sit everybody down, story time with Carol, and say, oh, by the way, you're all infected. By the way, you're all infected.
Absolutely. Well, and that is a good point. Jay, what do you think for next week?
I'm thinking along those lines, but what I'm thinking is more of everybody's already infected. Most infections, it takes time to process. What if the body is going to process this infection, and the people that haven't turned yet are going to slowly start to turn?
So if you don't die, it's like a cancer. If you die, you're dead.
Right.
But if you don't die, you could actually, the infection's going to just kind of work its
Maybe
way
it's
through.
mutating and progressing through the system, but eventually it's going to turn them.
Interesting. Well, with any infection, there's always a part of the population that is immune to it.
Mm-hmm.
Every major plague, there's always been a small percentage that's always had the immunity for whatever reason. I want to see that. I'd like to see somebody kind of just die and then they're all waiting and then he doesn't come back.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's hope. But I like Keith's twist on that.
Is there
Although,
change too?
huh?
I'm just kidding.
No, that's horrible.
Hope and change.
Oy vey.
Thanks for trying.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's got to be the
But
political
I think
guy
you're
around
right.
here.
We should probably consider adding a new segment to our show called Story Time with Carol.
Let's all not forget that going into this, our second season of the Walking Dead support group, that every time we make predictions on the next episode, we're never right.
I know, but that's the fun of it.
This is true. We get to talk about it. Kills time.
What fun would that be if we were right?
Well, just goes into the next show. We'll have a segment where we're wrong again. Next. Wrong again. Next.
That would
So
be
one of the things that we
Story
can
time
do
with Carol, I
on
like
tonight's
that.
episode is
Story time with Pokey.
We Pookie. What was
Oh, no, she's not Pookie. Daryl's Pookie.
Daryl's Pookie?
Daryl's
And you know
Pookie.
what? That was another thing that just drove people absolutely bonkers. A lot of the women were like, Pookie! I know for a fact Sandra loved it. Obviously, Carol and Beth liked it. But a lot of people were saying, oh, why do we have to have the romance version of this? And you know what? I was kind of there with it. You did have a great kill count, but one of the things we can add to tonight's episode for us is favorite new characters and why. And who knows? We probably won't get this for too long, but it was certainly an interesting twist where we knew we were going to have a lot of new faces coming in. So Jay, why don't we start with you? Who is your favorite?
My favorite was Crazy Lady. We never found out her name, but it was just the poster child for schizophrenia. She was just completely tapped out.
Right.
She had no idea what she was talking about unless I don't think she was lucid enough where she was actually lying. I think she believed everything she was saying. But it was a bit of a twist. You don't see crazy people like that. I mean, the closest you saw was Rick last season. But, I mean, that's seriously the craziest person we've seen on the show.
I just got a text. Vinny, I'll throw your favorite character out in a second. Keith, go ahead.
Violet.
Did you read that?
No, I didn't.
All right.
Where did he
You
post
agree
it?
with Vinny. Vinny just sent me a text. The pig was his favorite.
I beat you to it, Vinny. I got it. He can have the pig.
Actually, he beat you to it.
He
It's
probably
just,
did.
You just
yeah.
named the
I
pig.
just named it. Violet, who didn't last long either, apparently.
And according to Kirk, and for those of you who don't know, we're in the Boston area. One of our other followers, Kirk, says the Red Sox are playing like the Walkers tonight. So thanks. That's an added bonus to our.
Now there's a spoiler alert.
And I'm glad I was
It
watching
was
the
the
Walking
same thing
Dead.
last night.
So for me, my favorite character is I like the medic. I like he came out and said, listen, I want to start doing. I want to be involved. I'd like to kind of offer some support. He's obviously going to have an alcohol problem. And
Well, after what happened last time we touched alcohol, I wouldn't want to be touching it again.
right. Well, it was of course,
point.
you're there. You are. You get over your personal demon, and he says, "All right, I'm gonna put it back." And then what happens? The entire, not just the shelf, but the entire store display falls down on you. And then, of course, us being us, and then other members of the support group being the way they are. It was all clean up aisle 5, or that was pretty funny. But I have to admit, I did like the crazy lady, and the one weird twist with her was we had seen others in the past disguise themselves as walkers, and they went much more elaborate, where they were covered in it and everything. And at first, when she came in and leaned down to that pig, I thought, oh, okay, she must be a walker.
The way she fell down.
And then she starts talking. I was like, is that the twist on the walkers? She was pretty well disguised as a walker. And the only thing I think for her was she was setting Rick up because she knew she wouldn't be able to get that pig back to her husband, but she could get Rick to walk back. And he warned her outright, if you try, you will be on the losing end of this. And she was. Once again, Rick's make predictions, and he's right. But the thing was, I think she wanted him there because I think his head is in the bag. And that's because she said he needs live meat. So I think that's why she was up to it. But I think she'll probably come walking back again because he didn't put her down.
Yeah.
He left her, as far as we could tell. Anything else we want to bring up for the tonight's episode? Because we're hitting that benchmark right now.
I do. Sandra and I had this conversation on Facebook during the week, and it comes back to the whole romance thing. Every time, and we proved it again tonight, every time somebody's in a relationship, one or both of the people that are in the relationship die.
Yes.
So it was proved
Especially
again
if you're
tonight.
connected to Beth.
Yes.
Jay?
She's like the Black Widow or something like
Yeah.
that. I did write down the 3 questions.
Okay.
And, which kind of like, I guess it opens up the question, like, again, what are we going to see Rick as? What's Rick's character going to be this season? First, he's, like we said, complacent, and he's doing the chores and farming, and he's telling Carl that you should be going back to school and reading books, and he thinks he's all grown up, but Rick's trying to bring him back into, that you're a kid and you should be with the other kids. But then it's like, Herschel talks to him and says, if you're going out there to pick up the snare traps, take your gun. And he goes out there, runs into somebody. He wasn't going to kill her. It seemed like he wasn't going to kill her if she was a walker. But then when he turns out to be a real person, slightly neurotic, crazy, he comes up with this, I have to come back and ask you these 3 questions.
Right.
So it's like, he knows what he's got to do, but yet he's, again, unwilling to do it, I guess. But I did write down the 3 questions. How many walkers have you killed? How many people have you killed? And why?
Right. Well, and if you look
I guess this is his this is his way of determining whether or not you can come back to the prison.
Right.
Because it did seem like, and again, revolves all around, it hasn't been 30 days. It's been 30 days since an incident. Because they talk about that the medic, Daryl found him, he was alone.
Right.
Now Rick's found him alone, and maybe this all revolves around how the council says how you get into the prison. You gotta like pass the the 3 test questions. So I like that. I guess I was poignant to write those down. I'm glad we found out what they were. I thought for sure it was going to be like, oh, that's going to be a cliffhanger.
I'm beginning to think that maybe Rick is almost like Judge Dredd, that he goes out into the wasteland and he finds kind of survivors, and and they have to have some kind of determination that before you bring in. But he did say tonight that you have to you have to have bodies to fight the walkers. You have to. You just need numbers.
need numbers.
You can't be a small group. But then there was an interesting twist when Glenn, and obviously we were picking up that he's worried about Maggie being pregnant and having it be kind of like Lori's pregnancy. All right, so we'll wrap this up. We'll get ready for next week's episode and do a whole lot more and certainly involve you, our fans, a little bit more. But that was going to be a special one where we had a couple fans at the event in Georgia. So what we like to do every time when we finish our show is, what did we learn tonight? Jay, what did you learn?
Aside from the fact that zombies pop like water balloons when they fall from the ceiling, I learned that there's still hope out there. If you look at the way Beth reacted to her boyfriend dying, yeah, it was cold, but it was a glass half full kind of thing. She said, and this is the part that hit me, was when she said that she was glad she got to know him.
Right.
She can't cry.
She's
anymore,
not completely cold, but she's realistic to the situation.
Right, and she's looking at the silver lining.
Very good. Keith?
I've learned that from tonight's episode that no matter what they do to try to bring things back to a normalcy, and obviously that they're trying between the growing their own crops, raising their own animals, and having a little bit of teaching, I guess, no matter what, it always comes back to survival.
Yeah.
And they can't, they have to defend themselves under any circumstances. Whether they're in the prison or on the fence or out there on a run. It's not, they're obviously they're trying to be self-contained, but they're still contained, because there was a reference that we didn't get to that they said that's 70 miles, whatever they were talking about, that's 70 miles.
That's Macon.
Wherever she was looking at the map, right? But if you think about it, they're in this prison, and local to us here or local to wherever you are, think about where 70 miles is. I drove like 150 today. These people are concerned about going 70 miles. So as much as they try to bring life back to the way it was before, it all revolves around survival.
Absolutely. And what I learned from this was that no matter what, bacon. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us here on the Walking Dead Support Group. Give us a chance on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. And I want to just say thanks to a bunch of people who jumped in and showed us some love on Facebook and made sure that we got back. So Bobby Golden, if you're watching now, if you're going to be watching later, thanks for jumping into that conversation. We love that support, and thank you guys. And we'll see you next week here on the Walking Dead Support Group.